The term anti-vaxxer has been weaponized by vested interest to attack those who dare to question the current narrative on the COVID mRNA vaccine. And that's a very, very dangerous situation to be in. It's easy for someone like me to feel insulted to be labeled an anti-vaxxer. I support the use of traditional vaccines. My left arm is covered in scars from all the vaccines I've received. I took the COVID mRNA vaccines. I went on Good Morning Britain to tackle vaccine hesitancy. So that statement is just blatantly false. The development of safe and effective vaccines have been one of modern medicine's greatest achievements. Traditional vaccines are responsible for saving 4 to 5 million lives per year. One of the greatest successes with vaccines has been the eradication of smallpox, which this video has been censored on this platform because you are not allowed to even discuss this issue. Please go to Rumble or Twitter to watch the full uncensored version. This particular mRNA technology was rolled out on such a huge scale very, very quickly. It was understandable at the very beginning because we were in a state of emergency. The COVID pandemic has been devastating for many people, especially the elderly and the vulnerable. People accepted that things were going to be. This video has been censored on this platform because you are not allowed to even discuss this issue. Please go to Rumble or Twitter to watch the full uncensored version. So when we break down the risk-benefit ratio of the COVID mRNA vaccines, a reanalysis of the original trials conducted by Moderna and Pfizer, published in the journal Vaccine, revealed that this video has been censored on this platform because you are not allowed to even discuss this issue. Please go to Rumble or Twitter to watch the full uncensored version. So when one looks at the benefit, recent data released by the government actually reveals from the original primary program of the vaccines, you need to vaccinate 2,500 people over the age of 70 to prevent one severe hospitalization with COVID. That number rises to 5,700 if aged between 60 and 70. And if you're under 60, we're talking about having to vaccinate tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of people to prevent hospitalization with COVID. So let's now cross-reference that with the benefits of the vaccine if you were taking the today. If you're aged between 20 and 29, you would have to vaccinate 706,000 people to prevent one severe hospitalization. If you're in the 50 to 59 age group, you have to vaccinate over 250,000 to prevent a severe hospitalization. And if you're over 70, you'd have to vaccinate 7,500 people to prevent a severe hospitalization. Remember, this video has been censored on this platform because you are not allowed to even discuss this issue. Please go to Rumble or Twitter to watch the full uncensored version. In normal circumstances, that information should be conveyed to the patient so they can make an informed decision. This data has been available to the UK government since last October. Why did they not update the advice? Were you made aware of this? And if not, why not? Thankfully, the UK government has recently announced that it's going to stop offering the vaccine to people aged under 50 in the low-risk group. But unfortunately, this is very much behind the curve on this issue. The reason I specifically have called for this video has been censored on this platform because you are not allowed to even discuss this issue. Please go to Rumble or Twitter to watch the full uncensored version. In 1976, the swine flu vaccine was suspended because it was found to cause a debilitating neurological condition called Guillain-Barré syndrome in 1 in 100,000 people. In 1999, the rotavirus vaccine was suspended because it was found to cause a form of bowel obstruction in 1 in 10,000 children. This video has been censored on this platform because you are not allowed to even discuss this issue. Please go to Rumble or Twitter to watch the full uncensored version. Many people still today believe that the vaccine stopped transmission because the media spread such misinformation on this matter. The same media that's ignoring tackling the excess death issue head on. The rate of excess deaths in the UK is accelerating in all age groups, including the young. The number of deaths ending week 13th of January this year are 20% above the 5-year average, with 3,377 excess deaths in that week alone. The crisis in the NHS
NHS will no doubt be playing some role, but excess deaths are not just up in the UK. These excess deaths are up in Canada, the United States, Australia, New Zealand, and most European countries. Why are we not allowed to ask? This video has been censored on this platform because you are not allowed to even discuss this issue. Please go to Rumble or Twitter to watch the full uncensored version. Surely it's completely unscientific to disregard. This is an international emergency being ignored by our governments and sadly also by the mainstream media and our journalists.
The greatest irony of all of this is that the very media outlets that are responsible for spreading disinformation are actually attacking those that want to have a discussion and debate and want to get to the truth. After my BBC News interview, The Guardian and the Times newspapers did what can only be described as hatchet jobs, smearing my character, not addressing the clear evidence-based facts head on. What was most extraordinary about the expected attacks on my credibility through The Guardian was the use of the word hijacking, which clearly is just false. I'm a cardiologist. I'm an expert in heart disease on statins. I was giving my opinion on... I've always had a lot of respect for The Guardian newspaper. I myself have written 19 commentaries for The Guardian, but this article attacking me was worse than gutter journalism. Recently, I have been described as part of an anti-vax grooming gang, which has clear undertones of racism. Name-calling, smearing, it devalues scientific discussion, and ultimately, the person that suffers the most is the patient. I think it's really important in medicine, in scientific debate, to have dialogue and discussions. But really what's not happening at the moment is true, informed, respectful dialogue and debate into these issues. Trust the science is actually one of the most unscientific statements I've ever heard. Medicine is not an exact science, it never has been. It's an applied science, therefore it's constantly evolving. Actually, what we were trusting is I think when it comes to censorship and social media, we've seen the very worst during the pandemic. And the question people need to ask themselves is who is controlling the fact checkers? One of the things I found is that Facebook had partnered with drug company Merck to decide on what counts as health information on their platform. This is a drug company that was responsible for considerable fraud, found guilty in 2011 and fined $950 million on their drug Vioxx, thought to be responsible for the deaths of 60,000 Americans. We have allowed big, powerful corporations whose only interest is profit to have increasing control and influence over our lives. I am very open and happy to debate with anyone anytime on my findings in a respectful manner in the way that scientific debate should occur. Unfortunately, social media often makes the situation worse. The algorithm that encourages increasing engagement through attention-seeking behavior causes increasing polarization and animosity. The politicization of the debate on the COVID mRNA vaccine has been particularly detrimental to encouraging dialogue. Most of the questioning of the narrative on the vaccine seems to be coming from the right. Automatically, people are dismissing it, thinking this is part of some kind of conspiracy theory.
The irony of all of this is that the opaque and non-transparent nature of this major issue will fuel further distrust and conspiracy theories as we move forward. This is extremely detrimental to trust in government, in the medical establishment, trust that will no doubt be needed in future medical emergencies.
I understand where people are coming from who may feel angry with the kind of comments and claims that I've made. But I would just ask you to just think, go away, sit down, read the information, look at it if you can dispassionately, and then draw your own conclusions. There's no more important time for us to engage in open discussion around many of these issues. And what that means also is opening up to alternative media, independent journalism. And for that reason, I strongly commend you to help support Double Down News through Patreon.